Welcome to the June 13th, 2022 meeting of the Rotary Club of Jamestown. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, singing of our national anthem, and repeating the four-way test. Of the things we say or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. Our invocation today is by Lee Magnuson.
Let us pray. Dear Lord our God, we give you thanks for this beautiful day, for the opportunity to share it with good friends in food and fellowship. We give you thanks for being Rotary. We ask, O Lord, your blessing on us that we might seek ways to make inroads in the divisions in this country, the hostility and the hatred and the killing. We ask, O Lord, your blessing on us to be healers and portrayers of proper behavior. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Lee. Welcome Tori Ergang to introduce our visiting Rotarians and guests.
It was kind of a weak round of applause. So it is my pleasure to introduce Greg Jones as the Rotarian of the Day, who brought 3 guests today, who are all here in appreciation of the speaker. Mark Geis is here from, so Mark, I'm going to try to do your title off the top of my head, which is dangerous. Deputy County Executive for Economic Development.
Come on, you gotta come out.
And planning? Oh, and CEO of the IDA. Ooh, okay.
Gotta come out here.
And we have Jay Churchill, who is a member of the Airport Commission. Is that accurate? As well as other things. Do you want me to add anything? And a past Rotarian of this club. We'll call that a prospective new member. And then last but not least, Shannon Barnhart, who is the airport manager. Okay. And then it's my pleasure. I brought a guest today, and her name is Dee Rosenthal, and she's with the Community Blood Bank. And about a month ago, I had a phone call from Cecil Miller from the hospital who said, any chance that you could get folks from the blood bank on the program at Rotary? I said, well, the programs are all filled, but I would love to have Dee come and just tell us for a few minutes about a pretty urgent need that they have. So Dee, come on up.
All right, so thank you. I won't take much time. So Community Blood Bank first, who we are a local nonprofit out of Erie, Pennsylvania, and we supply the blood to 19 hospitals in over 20 counties over Northwest PA and Western New York, including UPMC Chautauqua. And as many may know, there is a national blood shortage, and unfortunately, we are feeling the effects of that as well. We are working off of less than a day's supply, which generally, we'd like to see at least 5 days supply. So a very critical, dire blood shortage. Part of the reason of that is our donor base is aging. So the older generations really felt the civic duty of donating blood, a great way to give back to their community. And the younger generations just don't feel that same urgency. So trying to fill that need as our donors begin to age and maybe become recipients themselves. There is no substitute for blood, just volunteer blood donors, and the need is ongoing. So every single day there's traumas, surgeries, 25% of blood collected goes to treat cancer patients receiving treatments. Babies being born, all of those things never stop regardless of pandemics and all the other things that arise in daily life. So just an ongoing need for donors now, especially leading into the summer months, because we lose about 20% of our donors with schools not being in session. So we rely heavily on community blood drives and blood drives at the hospitals and things like that. So I did bring a small list that I'll leave on where I was sitting of just upcoming drives in the area. But the other thing I would ask is just spreading the word. So if whether you can donate or not, just talking about it, making it a little more commonplace about how urgent the need for blood is, and talking to family members and kids, grandkids, just telling them how important it is. And again, that there is no substitute for blood donors. So thank you.
Our Rotarily Yours recorded today is Sue Jones. As always, we thank the committee for all their great efforts. As announced by email, in observance of Juneteenth, we have elected to not hold our meeting next week. So we are off until the 27th, where we have our President's Dinner, which Michelle's going to talk about. And while she's coming up, July 9th, Tarp Skunks is Rotary Night at the ballpark. We have bought out all the tickets. You may have gotten some on your way in here. We'll be handing out blocks of tickets to others, to other organizations in the community. Spread the word. Bring as many people as you can. If you don't have tickets in your pocket, we'll take people until they tell us we can't put any more people in the stadium.
So we only have 2 weeks. June 27th is a presidential dinner. So I need people to either register today. I have a sign-up sheet that I'll send around. The other choice is online. I'll email it out again today with the link. If you're willing to attend, we would love to see everybody there. We need to celebrate the job he has done this year and the great work he's done for our community. So we want to make sure that everybody can get there. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend. But I normally have been at every event, but this is my daughter's getting married, so I'm not missing that weekend. So otherwise, Melissa will be taking care of things. We are not going to do any golf because no one has given me a sign up or tea time that they were interested in. So we're just going to skip that whole thing just to make life easier because there's no one else to plan for it. So no golf, but just the event. The event is from 6:30 today till it's over. Dinner at 7. We've got a great menu plan, some great desserts from some local bakeries. So keep that in mind. So please come if you can. $40 per person. It's at Moonbrook. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. You may have noticed that instead of one of the board of directors up here introducing our guest today, it was Tori Ergang. This is membership day at the club because in addition to inducting new members later, we are also proud to announce that the board and the membership committee are recommending for membership Rudy Andalora, John Felton, and Kristen Melville. So, yeah. And if we're lucky, we might do some inductions on the night of the President's Dinner. So, if they're available. Let's see, is Ruth on? Ruth, you're online. Do you want to make any announcements? Okay, Diana Meckley, I know you had a couple.
Is it on? Okay, very good. Well, first of all, I will bring up a happy buck during Happy Bucks, and I want everybody to give Lee Magnuson a round of applause. He volunteered 6 times for the Wish Tree Project. And in addition to that, I just kind of wanted to take a minute to report out. We were provided this opportunity to read with the elementary students at Bush School, and they gave us 9 days and 55 30-minute slots. We were only able to fill 60% of those. This is one of the most flexible opportunities that we have, because there were 9 days that went from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. You could pick whatever time worked for you. So I just wanted to say, we have LEAP coming up, which we've done for the last couple summers. So I'm hopeful. Those volunteer hours are usually 9 to 11:30 noon. I'm hopeful that we can get some more participation in this great community, easy, fun to do effort. So thank you. I don't want to go on too much, but I also want to thank, we had 15 Rotarians that did participate, and we did fill 33 of the 55 slots. So thank you to all of you that did.
Anyone else have announcements?
This is big time. Is it working? This is not about the tarp skunks, which you should attend at every opportunity you have. We're what, 5-3 now and picking up steam. So it's a great opportunity to participate in a community event. And as Kevin said, we did buy out the stadium. And so it'll be really important that everybody here shows up and brings a few friends. One of the great committees in this club is the literacy committee. Thanks to Diana. And one of the things we came up with is a new idea, because we're always trying to think of ideas to promote literacy in our community, in our county, is to ask the county executive to declare sometime in mid-August Chautauqua County Book Club Week. And that's because I'm in a book club. Lots of people are in book clubs. But book clubs are a wonderful way for people to get together and read and share and have fun. And that's something we'd like to promote. The reason I'm standing up here today is I'm wondering the best way to find out where book clubs are. They're not exactly in the yellow pages and you can't find them online, but some of you are in book clubs, like I know Becky. And some of you probably know of book clubs. If there's any way you can help me to, and on our committee, to identify some of these book clubs, because we would like to have this timed with an article in the Post Journal in which the Rotary Club here highlights book clubs. We could have a nice article with some photographs and talk about why people are in book clubs and why we like it. So please contact me either by email or by phone, or you can text me at my phone number if you know anything about book clubs, or you can give us a little bit of help in that. Thanks.
Any final announcements? Not seeing any. All right. For more than 100 years, Rotary's guiding principles have been the foundation upon which our values and traditions stand. The four-way test that we recited earlier, object of Rotary, and the avenues of service express our commitment to service, fellowship, diversity, integrity, and leadership. These principles have developed to provide Rotarians with a strong common purpose and direction. They serve as a foundation for our relationships with each other and the actions we take in the world. And so with that, I put a few plants around the room. Vince Horrigan, could you please share with us the object of Rotary?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you. Four aspects of the object of Rotary. First, the development of acquaintance is an opportunity for service. So you get to know Andy Goodell, and it's an opportunity for service. Second, high ethical standards in business and professions, the recognition of the worthiness of all useful occupations, and the dignifying of each Rotarian's occupation as an opportunity to serve society. Third, the application of the ideal of service in each Rotarian's personal, business, and community life. And last, but certainly not least, the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world fellowship of business professional persons united in the ideal of service. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. John Lloyd, what are the avenues of service?
Oh, yes, the avenues of service are club service, focuses on making the club strong. Thriving club is anchored by strong relationships and an active membership development plan. Vocational service calls on every Rotarian to work with integrity and contribute their expertise to the problems and needs of society. Community service encourages every Rotarian to find ways to improve the quality of life for people in our communities and serve the public interest. International service amplifies our global reach in promoting peace and understanding. We support this service avenue by sponsoring or volunteering on projects. Was that a feedback or is it? Okay. Youth service recognizes the importance of empowering youth and youth professionals through leadership development programs such as Interact, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, and Rotary Youth Exchange.
Thank you, John. Diana, what are the areas of focus?
So pleased to share these with you because everybody can relate to at least one of these areas as a passion, I'm sure. The first is promoting peace, and that is around the world, in our communities, in our families, in our schools, everywhere. And Rotary has a lot of opportunities to do that in terms of instruction and scholarships and that. The next one, fighting disease. That includes polio plus, which all of us here are familiar with and soon to be eradicated. The next one, providing clean water. So important around the world. So many areas do not have clean water available to them. And so we help with those projects, bringing clean water to people. The next one, child and maternal health. We do that to save mothers and children from all types of, whether it's malnutrition or lack of maternal services, all those things. Next, supporting education, which includes literacy, which I'm a big promoter of. The next one, growing local economies. All right, and we can all be involved with that, supporting our local businesses. And last, and the newest area of focus, is protecting the environment. And our club has become very active with that, with the beautiful lake that we all enjoy, the highway cleanups that we do, and all those projects. So there's something for everyone at Rotary.
Thank you. And Greg Jones, what can you tell us about Rotary's motto?
About a half hour's worth. Not really. So Rotary's two official mottos, service above self and one profits most who serves the best. Rotary's official mottos can be traced back to the early days of the organization when I joined. It's true. At the 1950 Rotary International Convention in Detroit, Michigan, USA, two slogans were formally approved as the official mottos of Rotary. He profits most who serves the best and service above self. In the 1989 Council on Legislation established service above self as a principal motto of Rotary because it best conveys the philosophy and unselfish volunteer service. He profit most who serves the best was modified to they profit most who serves the best in 2004, and now to its current wording, one profits most who serves the best. And as an aside, if you paid attention to anything I just said, you can see that one of the things that brought about the terminology being changed is the wonderful thing we did in Rotary, which was invite the first Rotary female into membership. And it's made everybody stronger, and especially this club. So service above self.
Thank you. One more round of applause for everybody and their participation. With that, today we will be welcoming two new members into our club, Lori Brocklebank and Jean West. If you would both please come forward with your sponsors, and Tori Ergang, Chair of the Membership Committee. Serving triple duty. Fellow Rotarians, it is the duty of our Rotary Club to add new members from time to time, so that we may not only increase our usefulness and influence as a club, but also extend the spirit of Rotary throughout the community. Today, we welcome to our ranks and admit to membership Lori and Jean. Lori and Jean, you have been elected to membership in this club because your fellow members believe you a worthy representative of your calling and also possess qualities that will permit you to exemplify the true spirit of Rotary in your public, business, social, and private lives. I wish to impress upon you that you have been admitted not only to the Rotary Club of Jamestown, but also to a worldwide association. And by virtue of your membership in this club, you will be welcomed into fellowship at any Rotary Club in the world. The honor and privilege of Rotary membership carries with it duties and obligations. Yours will be expected to attend the club's meetings regularly, to perform your share of club membership or club service, and to place your knowledge and talents at the disposal of the club in its task of carrying the principles of Rotary into the daily life of the community. May I ask all members to rise? Lori and Jean, in the name of the Rotary Club of Jamestown, New York, we now formally admit you to membership in this club and Rotary International. I was going to have sponsors add the pins, but you've already done it. So pins have already been affixed. They're handed over. Fellow Rotarians, I commend to you our newest members, Rotarians Lori and Jean. Please welcome them.
It would be my pleasure to just offer a few words about each of these new members. I think you may be seated. I don't really know this new way. So I'll start with Jean. So both Lori and Jean have been attending meetings. We've seen Lori a lot on our Zoom screen. We've seen Jean sometimes on the Zoom screen, sometimes here. So Jean currently lives in Erie, Pennsylvania, where his 4 children, parents, and 3 of his 4 siblings and their families all reside. He works at Brookdale in Lakewood as a business development coordinator, and he has enjoyed meeting many people in Chautauqua County during his first year here. Since coming to Chautauqua County, he co-launched the Chautauqua Council on Aging and has served a full year on the Chautauqua Blind Association Board of Directors. And so it won't surprise you that Joni Blackman is the official sponsor for Jean. I'm just filling in. Jean has been a resident of Erie since 1978. He graduated from Gannon University. After Gannon, he attended graduate school at Clarion University. I saw Jim Smith, there he is, Clarion University. While at Clarion, Jean was a lay pastor for a Methodist church in Reynoldsville, Pennsylvania. And as you heard earlier, we put the pastors in the group to good work doing invocations for us here. So Jean spent 12 years managing CVS stores and developing new managers in the Erie area. And he also assisted with the merger of Revco and CVS. That took me back a little bit to remember Revco. He's also served in business development roles at Thomas Register, Highmark, Blue Cross Blue Shield, UPMC, United Healthcare, and Holiday Senior Living. Jean enjoys hiking, fishing, and photography, and he has a wide range of subjects he stays immersed in, has a passion for finding better ways to teach abstract subjects, and he enjoys writing music for piano and violin. Perhaps he could work with all of us on our singing here at Rotary. Jean, we're very glad to have you join us. Lori Brocklebank, proposed by Todd Allen, is the area manager for Davie Resource Group. And if you are thinking to yourself, I know about Davie, it's because you see their sign anytime the road is closed or traffic is slowed and they're cutting down trees or trimming trees, not cutting them down, they trim them. But Lori's job, she assists communities all over New York State with the management of their urban forests. We, of course, in Jamestown are very proud of our urban forest. She lives in Sinclairville, where her boys and she are working to restore 160-year-old cider mill and barn, as well as the farmhouse and its many gardens. She has two sons. The oldest is pursuing a career in aerospace engineering. He will be attending Jamestown Community College this fall to concentrate on learning the technical skills needed to design and build rockets. And he plans to finish his degree at the University of Buffalo. Her youngest is pursuing a dual degree in intelligence and security and history with a minor in education. He's serving in the Army National Guard while attending the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina. And a little fun fact, Lori was my boss 150 years ago when I waited tables at Ruby Tuesdays. So real evidence in life that in this community, everyone moves around and you find each other again. So very glad to have Lori join us as well.
Welcome. Please get your tickets ready. Melissa Myers is our 50-50 coordinator today. $40 to the winner. And you've got a lot of guests that could draw that number for you. $6309 to the winner. $6309. Oh, it's Melissa. Congratulations. Doug Conrose here for Sergeant at Arms duties.
Good afternoon, and we will keep it brief today so we can have time with our speaker. Thank you. But I'll second the plea for the blood bank. This fire chief spends a lot of time on the highway, puts a lot of people in helicopters, and the blood bank needs your help. So pass the word, please. And Davy Tree, Vince, you're sitting at the table. You would remember Davy Tree's start in Kent, Ohio, where both of us went to college. Davy Tree was headquartered in Kent. I don't know if it still is or not. It is still. Wow. Wow. I wouldn't turn it down. And Amy, I have missed your smiling face, and I know you want to put into the pot. I know you were working hard, but I think the real reason you want to put into the pot is because United Way awarded $1,045,000 to 29 agencies a couple weeks ago. You want to say anything? Nope, you're happy. And Katie, I'm glad to see you on here. I've missed you in a while, and I'm sure Mark wants to put in the pot for when you haven't been able to attend. Hi, Mark. Okay. No, we take 20s. So I assume today served for a club assembly. No? Oh, come on, because you postponed it. So I figured you'd made today work with all that excellent Rotary information. One more push for volunteerism. So this week in Rotary's activity, I think we're changing presidents internationally. Okay, Jim Smith, do you know what country our new president of Rotary's coming from? You got that right. Saw that in Rotary Magazine. I've been asked to help plug Rotary Magazine, so I'm finding ways to do that. And It might even be in a district close to here. She might be. Like she's from the Windsor, Ontario Club. Okay, Jennifer Jones. And she's going to have a, yes, everyone dig deep there. Oh, it's embarrassing, isn't it, Tim? Yeah, okay. And also in Rotary Magazine, who we got back there? Becky, yeah, okay. How many participants does Rotary International have in RILA? There's an article in Rotary Magazine, great article on RILA. I'll tell you the average attendance at a RILA workshop is 100. But how many, when you total all that up, how many people do you think take advantage of Rotary's youth leadership program? Yes, a year. Uh-oh. Clock's ringing down, the gong's gonna ring. 4,000. Well, let's multiply that times 10 and add a few. 50,000 students take advantage of RILA. So next time we talk about RILA here in the district, let's remember, it helps a lot. Now, lastly, last week I tried to, I recognize members who have new cars. And I talked to Lisa about that, and she insisted that the new car and her family hadn't been there because her husband was walking back and forth to Albany. But I see him in the room. Might you have a new car, Andy? Not yet? I got to wait another meeting? Wow. Wait, you Amtrakking it? Yeah, or are you piggybacking it with Joe? Okay. So thank you. Welcome back to the club, Andy. Good to see you. And happy bucks.
Yeah, let's take about 4 minutes for happy bucks. If we have any. We already did it. Yep.
Our son Ted and his wife Katie just had a second baby boy. So his name is Jack and he was born last Tuesday. So
if you have not seen Top Gun Maverick, Mr. Churchill, Mr. Nalbone, you got to go see it. Other than being Navy, it's awesome.
Okay. It's my pleasure to bring up Greg Jones from the program committee to introduce our speakers and get you into the program.
Thank you very much. Way back before some of you were born in the 1980s, I had the opportunity to serve on the board of directors of a large insurance company located in the West Coast, necessitated me to leave Jamestown about 10 times a year. And I was able to do that out of this wonderful airport called Jamestown International. That's what I called it because sometimes northern geese came and landed. So it was great service, and I really love the airport. It's changed. I'm hoping someday we can get some semblance of that back. However, in his astute wisdom, Vince Horgan said, well, maybe you'd be a good selection for the airport commission. So I was appointed to that way back then. And one of the first times I was there, I got a tour from Lou's brother. He said, why don't you come on, let me give you a tour of the airport. And he took me into this hangar, and it had a dozen planes disassembled, wires going everywhere. And I said, what the heck is this? And he said, that is going to be the topic of the speech today at Rotary Club. So it is my pleasure to introduce Lou Nalbone, and I'm going to give you a little bit about him. Lou's been involved in general aviation in Chautauqua County for over 50 years. He has been a flight instructor since '71. And in 1991, he succeeded his father, John Nalbone, as a fixed base operator in Dunkirk. 2000, Lou and his brother, John, added Jamestown Airport fixed base operator to their family. Today, Lou manages a very busy aircraft and modification business at the Jamestown Airport, and he's here to give us a little update on what's going on. So thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Greg. Are we set to work here? Great, thank you. It's a real honor to be here and to be asked to present to you today. Many of you folks I know from living in the county. I want to shout out to Andy. Andy, I think about you. I pray for you, man. I just keep doing what you're doing. You're bringing home the bacon the best you can. And I know it's a tough job, but at any rate, we're just glad to be here. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the family business, which basically is a service business now. We have a long history in this community. And it really starts with a Jamestown native, my dad, John Nalbone. He grew up during the Depression here, right on Crescent and Second area. He was a first generation Italian American. His folks were immigrants from Sicily. And he was the youngest of 8 children. He just had the dream of flying, but as a poor kid looking for jobs in Jamestown, it was kind of out of reach, but he was very fortunate that he won an essay contest and won an 8-hour flying course that was sponsored by the CAP. There were 2 winners in 1938. He was just out of high school by then, and he soloed at the Jamestown airport. And that was about the year they started improving the airport. We have some pictures of that later on to show you. Well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. I also want to tell you that I brought Mike Johnson Jr. with me. He's our assistant manager in training for Chautauqua Aircraft and Dunkirk Avionics. Mike is a native of this area. His grandfather Stan and his father Mike, who just retired from his dentistry practice, have been longtime aviators here in the county. Mike has followed in their footsteps, and among other things that are quite exceptional with Mike being an Embry-Riddle grad is that he's also a flight instructor with considerable experience. He's written articles for the Post-Journal, and Mike has put together a compilation of the history of the Jamestown airports, I will say. Obviously, we didn't start with the one that's up on Oak Hill. And he's just concluding a history of the Dunkirk airports as well, which we'll have some slides from the book. So I just wanted to tell you about Mike. But at any rate, my dad, John, he was able to learn to fly at Jamestown. And then when he married my mom, she was from Dunkirk. So that's the connection there in 1941. Late 41, he ended up accepted in the civilian pilot training program, which was a precursor of training pilots that we all knew we were going to need as soon as we entered World War II, which happened right at the end of that year. Sometime in the 42, he was commissioned, and he ended up serving in the Army Air Corps as a flight instructor, primarily in the Florida, Arcadia, Florida area. Most of the flight training of cadets that became the Army Air Corps pilots happened in Florida for obvious reasons. And at the same time, General Aviation continued on here in Chautauqua County, and when the war ended, he came back to Jamestown, his hometown, with the hope of continuing being a flight instructor. And there just weren't any jobs available, so he went to my mom's hometown, and it turned out that the Dunkirk airport had just been constructed, and it was built as a Department of Defense project in order to have a reserve airport away from the shoreline of the coast for retreat if we needed to. And he was able to find a job there as an instructor and eventually opened his own business. He opened it up at an airmail field just adjacent to the Dunkirk airport. It was known as Worley Airport, and that airport was built by the Civil Aeronautics Administration as part of the postal need for airmail fields that were linked together by a series of lighted beacons. And we were right on the route between Worley Airport, that is, was right on the route between Cleveland and Buffalo, which included stops at Erie. So many of the flights, when the weather was bad, would land at that airport. It was still there, and he opened up there because he had the ability to pursue his own business there as opposed to at the Dunkirk airport. It was only about a mile away. He built a hangar in 1947, and it became quite active as a flight training location. I have some notes here, I better follow. He became a pilot examiner at that time and was very active in, the GI Bill was quite prolific back then, and he had quite a few students. The problem with the Worley Airport being a grass airport, and those are the runways that he cut in. If you look in the background of that picture, you can see the Dunkirk airport. If you look real hard, you'll see the runways just across the railroad tracks. But winter has always been a problem. It still is a problem, but at least on paved airports with modern equipment, we can keep the airport open. He was on a grass strip, and except for a few days when they could put skis on the Piper Cubs, there really wasn't much activity. So in order to support his family and his growing family, and I was the last one in the group. I was born in 1950, but at any rate, he had to find other jobs. So fortunately in the community, he was able to get jobs. He was a postal carrier during the winter. He was also a mailman or a milkman, and he had all that stuff covered, the milkman, mailman thing. And he also later on learned to be a certified welder at the American Locomotive Plant when they switched from locomotives and were making bodies for submarines. At any rate, in 1960, the airport city fathers said, you know, John, why don't you run the Dunkirk airport for us? We haven't had an operator there since 1952. And the activities there were not really, shall we say, welcomed by anyone. There was no one there to provide fuel services or whatever. So he entered into a lease with the city of Dunkirk in 1960 and moved his operation there. As I said earlier, that airport was built as a DOD or a Department of Defense project, and with the thought that when the war ended, the city of Dunkirk would receive that property. And that's what happened. They had some early dedications. Those are a couple shots of a B-24 that flew in. If you look in the background, I think Vince has been around long enough. He can recognize that old hangar that's been torn down in the last year or two. I don't know if Shannon knew about Hangar 3. There it is in the background with some military aircraft there, but that's the way things looked in the mid-40s at Dunkirk Airport. So he took over, and he found the airport in not really good repair. It hadn't been mowed, and as a matter of fact, the paved runways were so grown over with vegetation that we actually had to mow the paved runways to use them. But eventually, because of the activity, and he was appointed airport manager, and working with the city Department of Development, they were able to get some grants and get some improvements. He had to paint the hangars and things like that. So one of the things that had been established during the, shall we say, the operator-less times at the airport was the use of the facility for sports car races and drag races. And we had to, in the early operation, the years that we operated there, we had to get out of the way a couple weekends a year for the USAC races, which a lot of people remember the airport for probably better than other activities that we had, aviation activities. But in 1962, he had the great idea of promoting the fact that the Dunkirk airport was an airport. So he entered into a contract to produce an air show with a business called National Air Shows, who would bring in the complete troops. They were like a turnkey air show company. Of course, everything else you had to figure out, like how to sell tickets, how to do publicity, and park cars and so forth. And it was a 2-day air show held on the Labor Day weekend in 1962. I was 11 years old at the time, and I cherish this picture because it shows a lot about the airport. If you take a look, you see a massive number of cars. We counted 696 on the second day. That was Labor Day. There were almost 300 aircraft that flew in, and they had a really strong gate. And if you look at that north-south runway, 1533, you'll see the tire marks there. The straight marks are from the drag racers, and the curve marks are from the USACs. So it's pretty well documented that there were courses there that were going on like that. I think we have a clip coming up, don't we, Mike? Right here is a clip from the 1962 air show. It's in there. Well, at any rate, I don't know how to go backwards, but let's see, there it is. And whoever put this clip together had the date wrong. Do you have to start it? And the motor sounds are dubbed. This is like somebody's Super 8. That's a Curtiss Falcon being flown by Bill Barber. He's an air show legend. This is the Labor Day weekend, 1962. Is there volume with that? Probably. We can just hum a little bit. There's Harold Cryer. He was a former U.S. champion flying Great Lakes aircraft with a wing walker, shall we say a wing rider in this case. And he did his aerobatic routine with a 140-pound man strapped to the upper wing. That's quite a ride if you can get a ticket for it. It's funny, the things you find on YouTube when you're looking for model airplane crashes for your grandson. Any rate, I can advance to the next slide at spacebar, okay. So the business continued and grew, and maybe more than the spacebar here.
Right, it wants to finish the video, I think.
You understand why we're passing the mantle to somebody like Mike Johnson from somebody like me. There we go. At any rate, the air show in '62 was such a overwhelming project for very little profit that, well, I guess the big thing he resolved was to never do it again as an individual. It's something that was definitely made for service clubs. And as a matter of fact, in 1963, and it's been just about continuous since then, the air show morphed into something more manageable, and that's the flying breakfast. Many of you have been here. I know Vince has been here. I'm quite sure Andy and others of you have been there, Jay. And that has been put on by the Dunkirk Rotary Club since 1973. So for the first 10 years, it was more of an organic group. The experimental aircraft group from Buffalo put it on, and then they passed, it just got too big for their organization. They passed it to the Dunkirk Rotary. I think Dunkirk and Fredonia are joint venturing that now. But if you look at the fly-in breakfast, they got a massive amount of airplanes in. They would serve generally anywhere from 12 to 1,500 breakfasts in a very short period of time. And it was just the Rotarians doing all the cooking, prep. They even had built their own. We had the Dunkirk Radiator people who were in the Rotary, and they built custom grills for us that they still use today, and they store them at the airport. They only use them one day a year. But at any rate, that kind of took the place of that. So that was a really great community event. And I guess the thing to note here is that the Rotary clubs was the type of group who could do that. It was a major fundraiser for them, and it couldn't have been done without a group like Rotary. As he got close to retirement, my dad had many years in service, and I'm quite proud of the fact that the FAA chose to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award, and in addition, he was a recipient of the, oh boy, I shouldn't put myself in this. At any rate, his name's in the Smithsonian as somebody that's worked in aviation maintenance and aircraft maintenance for 50 years. Charles Taylor Award. He was the mechanic who built the engine on the Wright Flyer for the 1903 flight. In 1991, my parents retired. That was a mom and dad type of operation. Before that, the county took over the operation of the airport, and our esteemed assemblyman, Andy Goodell, and I got to know him. What a wonderful guy. He was the county attorney at the time, and we worked together for a few days on that lease, didn't we? And it was simple, and it covered the bases. But at any rate, I was the chosen son. That's what happened when you're the youngest one, to take over the operation. I actually bought the operation, my brother and I, and I'm sure it's time to change your password, Mike. Stand by. I think the look on my face says it all. It's like, what have I gotten into? You know, life was good. I played golf 5 days a week. At any rate, you know how it is when you take over, anybody taking over their parents' business, it's like, I'm going to change everything. These people are so backward. I'm going to put hold on the phone, that type of thing. But at any rate, you find out later on why mom or dad did things a certain way. I'm hitting the space bar. And I just hate to keep you people very long here, having been a Rotarian. We added greatly to the fleet. We enhanced the flight school. One of the great things that we're very proud of is we were able to get together with JCC and put in a aviation pilots course for credit. And we worked with the higher ups there at JCC to get that approved. And that was really exciting. And then that expanded our operations considerably. Later on that year, we took on a Cessna dealership. In 1996, that happened. We sold new Cessna airplanes until 2016. And the professional program at JCC, many of you are familiar with it. You've seen ads on, and you've seen, I'm sure, media information about students that have gone on to become airline pilots. It was a very successful program, and we were thankful we were part of that. After the FBOs in both Dunkirk and Jamestown ceased to be operated by our companies, we concentrated on the maintenance, aircraft maintenance business, and we do that now in the original hangar that was built by or for Chautauqua Airlines. So we have the Chautauqua Aircraft Company, sales company in the Chautauqua Airlines original hangar, and we also have two of the mechanics that work for Chautauqua Airlines who stayed in the Jamestown area, or actually moved back to the Jamestown area to go to work for us, working on these aircraft. Some of the things that we do there are aircraft maintenance, aircraft inspections. We do import aircraft from other countries that come into the U.S. and get them in conformity with U.S. regulations. And that's the page I don't need. And I probably do need it, but we also started an avionics company, and we install aircraft radios and other products that are used for navigation, like GPS. We have customers, those are the pins that we have either worked on their airplanes or sold airplanes to, and these are some of the places in North America. I'm surprised we don't have one in Mexico, because I remember importing a Navajo for Mexico. We've also exported aircraft to other countries, particularly Europe and South America. Dunkirk Avionics is in the business of transforming legacy aircraft, which are still in excellent flying condition, into modern GPS electronic screen navigation systems with updated autopilots. Here's a job we just completed for a gentleman who keeps his airplane in Dunkirk. And you can see it went from looking very 60-ish to very modern. Looks like the kind of computer setup you'd probably have on your desk or in your teenager's bedroom. Now, I want to talk about the Jamestown Airport. Obviously, we couldn't have that business if we didn't have that facility at Jamestown. We're thankful for the quality and the size of the building. We're in expansion mode. We've heard it said today by other folks, and it's so true now, that it's very difficult to find people. I'm really thankful that Mike has decided with his talent to stay in Jamestown. We need more of our young people to do that. I'm sure you agree with me on that, but we have just hit the what shall we say, the tip of the iceberg with respect to aircraft maintenance. The big cities that had good maintenance facilities, the airports are now being taken over by conglomerates that are really buying the FBO strictly for the fuel sales and the other sales that and services they provide for the airlines. So the little guy is kind of kicked out, and you'll see fewer and fewer airports. And I know Jay sees this because he travels a lot with his airplane to a lot of different airports, but there used to be maintenance facilities at all the airports around here, and it's becoming very rare. So Jamestown Airport, because of our company, is a destination airport. A lot of the activity generated at the airport, since we no longer have an airline, is people coming in and bringing their planes in for maintenance. Also, we have a flight school there, which is currently run by my nephew, Randy Nalbone, and he also does some teaching out at the Dunkirk Airport. Page 5. As far as the history of the Jamestown Airport, Mike, did you bring any books with you today, Mike? I believe you. Oh yeah, here we go. Like I said, Mike Johnson has compiled a book here on the history of Jamestown Airport, which of course starts with airports other than the one that we currently know as the Jamestown Chautauqua County Airport. And it's kind of interesting here. There's some little notes here, little bullet points on it that what it took to get it going. There's some real heroes that are long since gone that were responsible for it actually taking place. Not the least of who were the John Wright and his wife were very instrumental. My dad's original flight instructor, Bill Oldberg, and Fred Larson are some of the original names that are associated with the Jamestown Airport. This is a picture of how old is this map? 1931 CAA aviators sectional chart for navigating, and that's what they would carry with them. And now the Jamestown Airport originally had 3 runways. They had a north-south runway, which is now a taxiway leading from the hangar C, which I think is under reconstruction right now. And Bill Larson was one of the, Fred Larson was one of the early flight instructors, and Warren Skelton was an FBO tenant at one time. There's a cool shot of the original hangar that was built in 1938 when they laid up the office on the side that became the terminal. And the early airlines, there's some vintage aircraft that were in that hangar. The early airlines that were servicing this airport, I don't know if the first one was All American. Empire. Next slide. Okay, thanks, Mike. Empire was actually operating out of Jamestown. Eventually, they became, no, they did not. They folded very quickly, but they were replaced by. He's the historian, by the way. I'm reading, and they were replaced by All American, I believe. And All American was linked from Buffalo to Pittsburgh with many stops in between, including Dunkirk and also Jamestown. Do we have a short piece on that? Okay, and I have to hit. That's at the Dunkirk airport. It had a cool music track too. That's that building that was moved over from the Worley airport. They moved in, it's still there. It's part of the FBO building. Downtown Dunkirk, I recognize that. Space bar. So, and that was just an that was an op at Dunkirk. And I just got to find the right sheet now, Mike. I guess it's a lot more fun when you're organized for you guys, huh? Well, at any rate, Lucille Wright, I think we have a museum named after her. She was a husband of John Wright, and she was a big supporter of general aviation before World War II and thereafter. And there was a lot of people that, here's Mike, you found this in the archives. It was a kind of a little editorial about the mayor needing a push to do something for the airport. And later on, the city of Jamestown was able to get Chautauqua County to take over the ownership and responsibility of the airport. And that's what led to the improvements of the air service that was leaving, and it became the Chautauqua Airline Company. Here's a shot of the original terminal. It was down on the east end of the field, and they eventually filled in that grassy area, and they were able to accommodate 2 airlines at once, Mohawk and Allegheny. Another shot of the construction around the ramp. It's a little bit different now, huh, Shannon? There's a picture of the hangar that Jamestown, the original Jamestown Aviation operated with Warren Skelton, and there's a picture of Mike's grandfather's Cessna 150. That's the airport terminal as it was in 1938 to about, I think it was torn down in the early 70s, that terminal. Now, Allegheny and Mohawk both operated out of Jamestown, as I said earlier, and they had Convair aircraft, which were kind of a modern airliner. And I think they still whistle stopped a little bit. They didn't go directly to Pittsburgh for a while. There's one of our esteemed businessmen who has a lot of travel tags on his bag, alighting a Allegheny Convair. But they announced their pullout. First, I think early 1970, Mohawk pulled out of Jamestown, and then Allegheny said that they were leaving. They were going to go to a modern all-jet fleet eventually, and they were going to what they called spoke and hub. And the spoke was the line from Pittsburgh to Jamestown, and they wanted it to be operated by a more efficient operation than dubbed the commuter airline trade. And they even offered a subsidy for whoever would come in and operate this trade, this line. And Joel Hall, who was from the Utica area, was an executive with, I believe, Mohawk, when they merged with Allegheny, and he saw the opportunity to start his own business, his own airline, and he came to Jamestown and did it. And of course, many of us here have realized how successful that was and how awesome it was to have that much air service based here. some of the key things, and I know Vince, this gave you a lot of, as the Italians say, a lot of agito when we didn't have the aircraft actually based here. But when Chautauqua Airlines was based here, it was homogeneous, it was organic. And those flights left regardless of the fog at 5:30 or 6 a.m. And you could count on them getting you to your connection in Pittsburgh. That's kind of what's missing now, and we've suffered with that. There's one of the original Chautauqua Airlines. It's the Beech 99. There's the picture of the Hall family with some executives from the airlines. And that was their first upgrade. I think that was known as a Swearingen, or they went from a 19 passenger to about 26 passenger on that. And then eventually they went into the short sky van. Of course, this shows you how what an effort it takes to fly in the winter out here in Jamestown, but they did it and they made their flights just about every day. I guess you would say those are the good old days, but I think we really have to look forward and say this is the way things are. We no longer have the height of industrial base here and the amount of travelers that got used to flying on the airline. We're pretty much a destination for than the businesses that we talked about that are based at the airport for travelers and people who want to come to Jamestown. There's still a business component to it. It wasn't that long ago I was involved in it as the FBO. But at any rate, the airport is extremely well improved. The county's done a fabulous job keeping the airport as a first-rate airport. We get many compliments from our customers that come in for just the way it's maintained. And going forward, whether you attract an airline or not, it's a very important asset to have in this community. Now, one of the things that's a little interesting about all that, having said that, is that you have two really good, usable, jet-capable airplanes. You have one in Dunkirk as well. And what I think is kind of interesting about that is I fly all over the country, and I've been to many county airports, but I've never been to a county that had airports. So when we introduce Shannon today, we have to always say she is our airports manager. She has two babies that she's responsible for. And it really is an asset to this community, this county, to have two, because we are, we're a county separated by a little bit of geography and a little bit of population base. And really, there's no other way to do it. For those people who would say we don't need the airports, I say, why don't you get a road map and find your way out to the airport? I'll give you a tour. Shannon will give you a tour. Jay, if you're available, and you'll learn a little different story about how valuable these airports are to our community. At any rate, I mentioned Mike's book, and I hope if you're interested in this, you might pick up a copy of it. We didn't come here to sell books today, but we will. Not we, Mike. And I know I kept you a long time. I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I will take any questions if you have any. Sir.
Do you have any history on the Durham Old Airport, the building of the airplanes up there?
Do you know about the Durham?
Yeah. So before it was the Durham Old hangar, it was owned by American Aviation Corp, and they built the TDR drones up there. And then Fairchild Durham Old took it over right kind of halfway through that project. The dates are kind of fuzzy, but it originally was American Aviation Corp. But yes, it does detail that a little bit. Yeah, you could really write a whole book just on the TDR drone program. It's so in depth. But yes, there is information on that in there.
Beautiful.
I'd add that the only drone still in existence, and I think, have you seen it, Vince? It's hanging from the Naval Air Museum in Pensacola, built here in Jamestown, New York. Yeah, and our own Warren Skelton, who's long since gone, was the test pilot for them. He actually flew these before they were made into remote controls. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Thank you.
And is Tim Kuhn, is the Chautauqua Airlines still working out of Indianapolis, or?
Yeah, I think they merged or were acquired by, I forgot, are they Republic? They're Republic. They call themselves Brickyard when on the call-ins, like you'll hear them Brickyard and then the flight number, but that's the Chautauqua Airlines.
How many private planes are based at the Chautauqua Airport?
I'm going to let Shannon answer that. You want me? All of them. I'm going to throw that number out. Let's say 20 at at Jamestown and considerably more at Dunkirk. Any other questions? Greg? I didn't get into that. We have 12 employees at our two businesses, and we are definitely in expansion mode. We have just generated some prospects through an Indeed employee search. And one of the, I mentioned to you at one of you here that one of the key things is we need to have people that want to be here. That's the key thing. And, you know, we're four-season. I don't explain the seasons to you, but the people that work for me, they're snowmobilers, they're fishermen, and their kids are involved in sports, and we're blessed to have them. These are not marginal jobs that are there. These are all family type jobs, sustainable. They have houses, they live in the community, they have kids in the schools and so forth. And those are the kind of people we're looking for. We need very specifically trained, federally licensed technicians to come into these jobs. And they don't grow on trees around here, except for Mike Jr. Any other questions? I'm not sure either. Thank you very much.
One of Rotary International's major programs is the eradication of polio throughout the world. And in thanks to your presentation today, our club will make a donation that will vaccinate 4 children who will never experience polio in their life. Remembering this year's Rotary International theme, serve to change lives, caring for and serving others is the best way to live because it changes not only other people's lives, but also our own. Thank you, and we're adjourned.